Hello, hello, and welcome back to Unapologetically Wild with me, Kadi Sonntag. Now, for those of you following along, I had not expected to do this podcast starting in spring, and happy spring, everyone. This is very exciting. It's a beautiful time where we've come out of the winter and we're, starting to see more sunshine, and it allows us to, do more, be more, all these things, right? As we're encouraged to get out with the weather, and it's very, very exciting. I love spring. It's so beautiful. And I didn't expect to be in this house recording this for the start of spring, but of course, the universe and, you know, my guides and God has allowed me to do this today and have space to create. And I think this is beautiful. And I really want to speak into this because there's so many times in my life where if this hadn't have gone exactly to plan, and for all of you that may have listened last week, my plan was to pre-pack, uplift today, tomorrow, move in Wednesday, right? That was my whole plan in my head. And it's funny because I had worked that out with a couple of things, when you do all your bills and your electricity and all this. And then with other things like my internet, it's like I'd waited till Friday. Like I'd given myself the week just, so if I'm in the house, I can have the internet and all the things, right? Anyway, I hadn't really planned when I was going to do the podcast because I was like, oh, don't really know. Like we're a little bit up in the air. The movers hadn't got back to me, which they got back to me this morning, right? And as we all know, like this is really interesting, right? When you're waiting for confirmation of how life gets to look. Now, I think back to many other moves and there's a lot of stress. And I'm not saying that I did not have moments of like, oh my gosh, what is happening? But luckily I had a lot of space this week to allow myself to have the move, right? And it's so interesting because there's so many moments where you get to choose, right? You get to choose if you're like, I'm going to sit in this, holy crap, what the fuck's going to happen? And it doesn't suit my timeline, right? So this is a full control piece where we just want to plan out our lives so it's absolutely perfect and everything hits when it hits, right? And it was so funny because I would obviously plan the start of the week for that, the end of the week for cleaning. I'd asked a girlfriend if I could stay at her house with Piper, all the things, right? And the abundance of support for this move has been absolutely fucking wild. Like the fact that I get to, like, for example, my dad went and picked up the keys today for my new place. And one of the things that they were really big on was the lawns, right? Because quite a big amount of lawn out the front and the back. Quite a beautiful house. And I'm so excited. For those of you who are in Newcastle, I will be doing my energy healings from my new house and all the things. So if you want to have in-person healings, and actually this month because I love spring, I do a deal. So online and in person, I do energy healings for $100. I've actually done it last year and this year. It's like a beautiful reopening to spring and like getting rid of anything, any blocks, mental, physical, spiritual, all the things, anything that's holding you back and allowing yourself to just come into the new season, right? And I just love it. September's the month. And I'm so excited to be doing that in Newcastle from next week, right? And I was kind of like, cool, like where do I plan to do all these other things? And in business, like the podcast, like, running all of these pieces, how do they fit in the transition period? Because let's be honest, a lot of people in this transition period or this movement period would cease everything. And that's okay as long as you're not completely disregarding yourself, right? Because you still have wants, needs, all the things. That's still really, really important. So, yes, you can't control every aspect of how other people move, which is a really big thing, because if we think we can control it, you're just lying to yourself. And I've done that to myself many times, right? Being like, oh, it's all going to exactly work out perfectly. And it does, but maybe not the perfect we expect, maybe not the way we go to control it. So one piece was I had to be flexible in this time because I didn't know when they were coming. I didn't know exactly. I knew it was this week. So I had a general idea, but I didn't know the exact days until this morning. And I'm lucky that I had my dad able to go pick up the keys and go on the walk around, and he's going to, do the lawns and have everything sort of set up. outdoors wise for me when I get there, which is very exciting, and for Piper. And then, of course, he met my beautiful new neighbor, and there's dogs next door, and it's going to be, and they're really friendly. And so, anyway, it was a really lovely interaction. Who also, she offered me a table. She had a 8-seater glass table, and who knows, maybe I'll get that Friday if it suits, because there's 2 beautiful decks on this new place. Anyway, it's absolutely magical. And when he went there, he was like, "Oh, this is perfect." And I was like, "I know, right? Like, I get to do some really cool things there. I can run events downstairs in this beautiful rumpus room. And it's got toilet, everything you need, right? Everything you need." And so beautiful to have my dad support me to grab the keys to then be able to look after things before I get there and just, check out the house again and all of the pieces, because I still have not physically laid foot in that house. My mum has, my dad has, but I have not. And I'm so grateful, right? Because this is a really big thing, right? For me to then get there and, the lawns haven't been done for a month. So it's like that would have been a lot of extra stress and a lot of extra, just like crap, I've got to get things done whilst also thinking about unpacking. And so when they called this morning and they were like, we're going to pre-pack tomorrow and then Wednesday and then they're going to deliver Friday. It was so interesting because then I was like, oh, I have to just change a couple of things, right? Because my booking a bit early didn't actually help, which is also interesting in the fact that I was going to book a few other things in and I didn't, because I was like, oh, maybe I'll just wait and see. And I'm glad, because I would not have been able to book them in. Like, I genuinely could not have booked a carpet clean on Wednesday if I didn't have anything out of here, So one of the beautiful things about moving is being flexible and not allowing the disruptions or the different timetables to affect you, but also being able to ask if that can change. Because I also was like, oh, can that happen? Can I receive all my stuff on Thursday? And he said, if that changes, he will let me know. So there's the beauty of like allowing what is meant to be. And it created the space, right? Because the universe has now allowed me, because it was going to be really stressful. I worked yesterday. And I had a really big week of doing a few reserve days and just other things with business. And so it actually gave me the space today to do this podcast. It gave me the space to, move a few things around the house that I wanted to get sorted, confirm times and dates with people so that I could stay and I could look after Piper and work out what's kind of going on, be with my dad to see the house. Like, all of these beautiful pieces are falling into place perfectly, right? And I could not have imagined them. I just allowed myself to go with what felt right and to honor myself and what I needed. And so yesterday I went to have a sauna. Like, I allowed myself the hour break and time for me. And today we're going to go for a walk out in the sunshine. And, I went and got my nails done because I'd really desperately needed to go do that. So it gave me time and space to actually honor things for me too. And I think this is really important. When the universe doesn't perfectly work out exactly how you think it will, it's really, really important to allow yourself to see what you get to receive from the way it worked out. And I know I've talked about this a lot, but I think it's a really big driver home. And why I wanted to talk about it so deeply is because this morning was a perfect representation of that. Because I got to rest. I got to do things that are actually going to serve me. And I get to be on this podcast. I get to share this story with you, right? And, everything else was done online because, of course, we can sign contracts and, pay bonds and do all those things online, right? Like, all of that is so possible and so easy. And so everything got to be easier. It doesn't mean that it didn't cause stress and upheaval, because, as we know, that's exactly what a move is. But it gave me time and space to also still talk to my VA and to still allow my business to keep moving and thriving and being. And I get to also honor the fact that I chose a really good day to start the Holistic Woman next week, because I will be in the house and I will have had a weekend to settle. And I think that's really important to start on a Monday, because that week then is so beautiful for the women I get to support in this beautiful container. And so this is the thing, right? Everything always perfectly works out. I moved my internet for Friday, all of that. You know what I mean? Like everything is perfect. It gave me time and space to be with what I need to do with some other pieces in the house that I wanted to sort out before they came, which I was stressing about this morning. It also actually allowed me to eat the food that I still had because I kept a certain amount and I went a little bit over. And so I was like, oh, this is perfect. I have enough food for everything. I also get to stay in my bed another night. Like it just honored some beautiful pieces that meant that it's all going to work out perfectly because I have until Monday to give the key back. So there's space, time, allowance to just not have to jump straight in, right? And I think that's really, really important because it's very easy just to go, go, go. And I'm really good at it, right? But when you are moving, when there's a lot going on, when there's like even change of my work circumstances, working part time, I also get to honor what does that look like when I move and moving to a different base with different people, all of it. Like there's all these moving pieces that are just clinking, and I just get to trust that they're all going to fall into place at the right time. And I get to trust and be with the fact that everything is working out in my favor. Everything. Like it's actually crazy how good it is, right? And it's beautiful that, of course, my dad met my neighbor. Of course, my dad's going to do all these beautiful things to help me and support me. Um, of course, now I have the keys. Of course, now, all of these things are falling into place. And of course, I'm supported by the fact that, this is my move that I'm getting done by a removal company, right? Because leaving defense, you get a move to the location that you desire to go. So it all feels really abundant and it feels really beautiful. And also at times, I also get to remember to do the things I talked about last time, which is be present and honor myself, right? Because I had not been as good at honoring myself this last week because I had been putting a little bit extra on my plate. Now I'll reap the rewards of that, in a week's time. However, it has also taken a little bit of a toll. And it's actually acknowledging that because I wouldn't have felt it unless I had gone and honored myself yesterday and done my beautiful sauna. And today, of the fact that I broke a nail the other day cleaning, and I was like, cool, now I get to go get them done so that I don't have to deal with this broken nail and the fact that when I actually go to clean again, because I'm going to be bond cleaning, I got them shorter and I made sure, that all of these pieces, which makes life just a little bit, even packing and all the things, not having, it get caught on anything, right? So all of these pieces have just allowed this move to be a little bit more spacious. And the fact that they're going to pack everything one day and then they'll come back and move it the next also gives it a bit more space because it means that once it's all packed, then we can sleep that night and then the next night they'll come and take it all the next day. And so I think that's just really nice. Originally, they were like, why don't you just do it all in one day? And I was like, And though the thing for me now is not overloading myself or not overdoing it, right? Because I've done that for so long and I've made it that everything has to happen in such quick succession. And though, what if I had space and time to not have that happen? What if I just allowed everything to be exactly as it is and didn't stress about it and didn't worry and actually allowed things to happen on that end to support me to move in and things to happen on this end to support me to leave? And so this beautiful period, which can seem like it's just swaying and flowing and going ebbs and flows and all the things, gets to be really beautiful because I've been to my now ladies since forever, right? And I've always, loved them and it's really beautiful to go back, right? And it was really nice to go back to City Cave because I love being in the sauna there and giving myself the time and space. I really get to go spend some time with a beautiful friend of mine for a few days during the clean. I get to honor the fact that we don't have to rush into the next phase of our life. And I think sometimes this is a really, really big piece, and I really want to hone into it because it's so easy to want to be like, I'm done with this part and it's time to move on. Like, I've got to move right now. Everything has to happen exactly as I want it because otherwise it's not going to be perfect. And for all you perfectionists out there who, hello, we are friends. I'm a recovering perfectionist, I like to call myself. It's about actually being with what can I do that will serve me or what's going to serve me in this moment, right? And so for me right now, it was allowing myself to use this day to actually rest, to actually honor some pieces in my business that I would not have had the time for. It was to honor myself. What do I need moving forward that's going to make this a nicer, better experience for me? And what do I need to pack so that I have clothes for the next few days? Like how, all of these things, which I was not quite on top of, meant that having this time and space means that I get to actually look at what I've got. I can do another load of washing, right? All these little things that may not seem like a lot, but when you get to the next house, they are, because they're all the little things that add up. And so it's just being like, how do I get to honor this moving forward? What's going to serve me best moving forward? And it's so beautiful when the universe shows you that and gives you the space and time to do what actually honors you and allows you to still be with where you are and move to where you're going. Because there's a real beauty in that. There's a real beauty in seeing how incredible this house has been for Piper and I, right? Like it has been absolutely amazing. It has literally 222 on my clock right now. I just looked over. So divine alignment. It has been beautiful. It has been the place where, I finished my military career full time. It has been the place where I had beautiful clients come. It's been the place where I've held a couple of beautiful events. Like it was the beginning of the expansion of business and it held us beautifully in that. And the expansion of Piper having more space and us having a pool to play in summer and like honor play and fun and all of these pieces. And where I got to do so many beautiful things. And also the other day I was talking to someone about how it's a completion. This was the base that I wanted to be a PT and where I left here to go and do my PT course, my PDI course, because I wanted to be a PDI. So it's like a full circle moment, right? To honor that, to honor and be with the fact that, I met a beautiful girl the other day who also wants to become a PTI and she wants to get a dog, which is exactly what I did when I became a PDI, right? So all of these beautiful things that are acknowledging how far I've come, and now my dog is 6. Like, can you believe that? And I didn't get her straight away. So that means I've been doing this for over 6 years, this particular job, right? But then I've been in the army over 13 and a half years. So it's like such a beautiful point where I get to reflect and be with this beautiful period, this beautiful space, how I have a room for my office. I didn't have that before. And I know I spoke about that in my last episode, but here was when I literally went and hosted my first retreat in the Blue Mountains by myself, where I co-hosted my first retreat in Byron Bay. Is so many big things happened here. And also the little nuances of actually being present here, of living outdoors and indoors, getting a beautiful outdoor setting and sitting out there with Piper and having coffee every morning from that outdoor setting overlooking the pool. Like so many beautiful things in the small moments and in the big moments. And, finding beautiful people to go and do my beauty services and beautiful friends and lovely, people that I got to connect with in this community. And my neighbors, it was just so beautiful seeing them and being with them. And it was just really, really lovely to reflect and be with all of it, but also to have the space to still be here to honor what also gets to happen before I move on, right? And I think this is a really, like I was saying before, big piece of letting go of what we think should happen, how it should happen, all of these things, honoring and reflecting what's happening, and then seeing what the space that's been created for is allowing us to do before we move, and how it's supporting us to take that next step. Because that next step is coming, right? Like I'm moving. It's not like it's not coming. But if I'm not present here right now with you in this moment and honoring the fact that I have the space to do this, then I don't see the true value of what the universe is giving me. And I think that's really important because the universe is trying to give us space. And that's my big thing, right? Space, abundance, time. They're so precious. Time to me is way more important because than money, because money buys us time, really. You know, if we have money, we then pay normally people to do things so that we have the time. So the time is really the true value. So to have the time and space in this moment to honor this beautiful podcast, to speak to you, to be with what I need moving forward and actually go to people I already know. So it's my comfort, right? And knowing that I'm stepping out into somewhere I don't know and having the support of even moving into that, right? Like speaking with my dad this morning and, honoring all of these pieces. It just means that it all gets to be really beautiful and really perfect. And it also just gives me space to breathe and to love myself even deeper and to support myself with what I need. Because when we keep going and going and going and hustling and hustling and hustling, we don't have the time and space to do the reflection, to be with ourselves, to breathe, to actually honor what we truly need that will support us moving forward. Because this is what space and time creates, is the ability for us to do that. And unless we actually mark it out of our calendars, like truly, and we allow ourselves to make sure that we're having this space, then we're not actually honoring what we truly need. Because if you don't have the space and time to think about it, you're not going to honor it because you won't know what it is, because you keep getting yourself to be busier and busier and you add more and more to your plate to the point where you actually don't have the ability to know what you truly want and you desire and what you actually like is in alignment with you. Because we can keep adding more and more to our plate, which can be from society, our own expectations, you know what I mean? All of these different pieces. But until we have that time and space to allow ourselves to be with us and be truly present and truly sit with what we want, we don't really know. And that can change. The best part about life is that can change in a heartbeat, right? And I didn't realize, so many pieces have dropped in for me too, is like through business, I didn't realize how much I value time. And you don't have to have a business to value time at all. But I didn't understand it until now because, I had a job and that took a lot of energy and I, didn't really speak to my soul. And though it did create time for me to do what I wanted because I made money consistently, right? So now I also appreciate and value money even deeper because it's not just coming in as a regular paycheck anymore. And some would say I probably work a lot harder for my money now than I ever did. And that isn't a bad thing because although I put a lot of energy into it, I love it more than, and it's more soul calling than before it was draining my energy. And the thing is, when we come into business, when we come into, creation of anything, of any sort, of anything that we want in life, there is this push and pull, right? There's this moment where like most people, entrepreneurship is a fucking hard, it's a incredibly difficult space because it's not for everyone. It's not for the faint-hearted because it is a space where you put yourself out there. You're super open. You're super vulnerable. All the pieces, and you also are allowing people to pay a value to have you as their coach. Well, for me, coaching, right? Some people it's a product, right? Pay a value for a product. And so money is really, really precious because when it comes in, it means that you get to serve your purpose. So it means more. But you also have to work 10 times harder to be able to actually allow people to see you in what and know that they want to pay you your value. Know that you're worthy of your own value. That's a whole nother piece. If you don't feel good enough, worthy enough, all these pieces can all come into business. They also come into life. They also come into your body, your health, all of these pieces, right? And one of the things on the retreat, which I actually never really planned on doing, but I loved it, and I do with my VIP clients, is a VIP day where we go through every part of your life, right? And we really look at where are you and where do you want to be and how do we close the gap? Because that's the only difference between people that are making more money than you, people that are, have businesses, if that's what you truly want, people that are super fit and healthy, all of these pieces, maybe like they're, I don't know, going on magical holidays and all the things, right? Really rich, all of that. All of this comes from their consistency. Consistency. Wow, that was a lot. Pardon me. So being consistent got them there, but they had to keep learning and growing and going to the point where sometimes they hit rock bottom, right? And this can happen. And when it does, you start to value these things even deeper, right? Like you value money more because you don't have as much of it or you have to work harder to receive it. And that doesn't mean that you actually do. It just means that you are starting something new so that nobody knows at the start what that is or how, valuable is all the things, right? So you get to show them. And, when it comes to time, when you haven't got time and then you have time and you realize how valuable and precious that is and actually honor it with what you want, you're like, fuck, I want more of that time. How do I create more time, right? And so there's all these different levels. And then the deeper you go to love yourself and you really love yourself, and then you see everyone around you loving you and supporting you, you're like, holy fuck, I want more of this. It becomes more valuable, right? And it really is up to you on what you value in your life because the values that you hold are what you're living right now. And so the top 3 values you're living out in your life. You may say that your top 3 values are money, health, and business, right? Let's just go with that. But you're not allowing yourself to actually look at your bank account for your money. You're not actually honoring what's going in and what's coming out. You're not being with the flow and the abundance of money. And then you may be like health, and then you never go to the gym or you never go for a walk or you never actually honor your health by eating healthy. You just go out and eat donuts and cupcakes, right? So that's not living health. And so there's those pieces and business. If you're not actually putting out your offer, then you're not selling. So are you honoring your business? Like, how are you being with that? So these are really big things and constant reminders for me too, right? We all go through these constant reminders. And in this transition period, sometimes we can lose sight or not, be a bit rocky. But if we actually still honor our top values, like Piper and I are going to go for a walk out in the sunshine because I value health. I also value getting her out. And this is my thing, right? I'm still valuing my business. But the reason is because I've been consistent and had discipline for a long period of time for these things, right? And I have honored these as my values and I know what they look like and I know how to close the gap. And I'm constantly also looking at where I'm at and where I'm going and how do I close the gap? Because this is growth and this is what I work with my clients on, right? Because if you don't know where you're at and where you want to go, you don't know how you can get there, right? And sometimes the how isn't always the thing, right? Sometimes it's just knowing even those two parts or knowing what you're actually valuing in your life, because then you can change the habits, beliefs, and ways of being to actually honor what you truly want to value, not what you think you value, because your actions will tell you if you value it or not. So what I love about this is we can look at that and truly, and I do energetic activations as well, because there's so much to do with your energy and anything we need to move and all the pieces. And this is why I love energy work. This is why it works with mindset work, body work, all of this, somatics, right? This is why I work with all the three parts of mind, body, and soul, because, and with all my programs, Holistic Woman, exactly the same, because the thing is, unless you look at all three, you're not actually honoring yourself holistically, and you're not going to move forward in the things that you truly want and you want to receive and be a magnet for. So I want to sit this with you today, and I want to give you a practical task to go and do. I want you to actually look at your day and write down what you do in your day, right? This is a task to take home with you today. What do you do in your day? What are the top 3 values that you see through what you do? So for example, if you go to the gym and you eat healthy, or you go to the gym but you don't eat healthy, are you actually valuing health? Ask yourself these questions. Look at what you do in the day and see what the top 3 values you have are. Then ask yourself the question, does that actually meet the values that you truly want to be with? And see what happens. See what comes up. I'd love for you to share with me what actually comes up. Like DM me, put it in the comments, all the things. I would love to know, because this is the start, right? This is where we get to honor where we're at, where we're going, and how we get there. And this is where the Holistic Woman, if you want to do this with me and actually honor your health, because I write a program, and this program can be a gym program, an at-home program. It can be, all of these pieces, right? We can do so many different things. Some of the women I do are dance programs because they just want to move and celebrate their life, right? And so then we look at food, right? We honor the food. Then we look at self-care. How are you honoring your body, right? How are you honoring what you need? Then we look at, how do you step out of your comfort zone? Let's change our perspective. Let's change, the thoughts. Do your positive thinking. Is there any, what are you thinking? What's going on in your brain, right? How do we allow you to get rid of those limiting beliefs so you can keep moving forward positively, right? And then we look at all these little pieces because they all connect into each other. Rest and recovery. How do you honor that? And so we're closing the gap. That's what we're doing. We're closing the gap so that you can be where you want to go. And you can always have a new goal, but we're also doing it by being present and honoring the stage of life that you're in. Because this is the other thing. If you honor where you're at, when you go through the rockiness of right now, of like upheaval of life and things not exactly working to your plan, and, things maybe not being perfect, right? What happens is you can still honor your values through that time in a way that serves you, because you have honored you and what you truly need and where you want to go, and you know what you value and how to get there, without it always looking exactly as it's meant to look, without you being overworked, without you doing too much, with actually honoring the space you need to do the things that are going to serve you. So I would love for you to do that today. Let me know how you go. And I cannot wait to see how you create space for yourself to honor you. And like I said, if you want to join the Holistic Woman, we start on Monday next week on the 8th of September. So make sure you send me a message, click the link in my bio if you go into my Instagram, my Facebook, all the things, to join the Holistic Woman, because it's going to be epic. The women that are in there are high-performing women who are ready to take this next step, right? Because they know how important it is to actually receive and be magnetic and create space for the things that are actually going to move them forward in life, move the needle in every area of their life. And it all starts with their health. Okay. Because if you're not healthy, you're not wealthy, right? Because if you can't do the things, if you can't play with your kids, if you can't go out and build your business, you know what I mean? You need to be healthy to do that. So we start there. The holistic woman is a perfect starting point for that. And then we get to build on all of those other pieces because once you're healthy and well, you can actually do anything. I love you. Have an incredible, incredible day and keep being unapologetically wild. And I can't wait to talk to you or be in your ears or see you if you're on YouTube next week for the exciting space that will be my new office and my new house. So I cannot wait to see what gets to be created there. And I cannot wait to share that with you. I love you. Bye.